My Aunt Karen has the biggest heart in our whole Kosmeski side of the family. When I was 2, she got diagnosed with cancer. I don't remember it because I was 2, but I know that it was one of the saddest things that had happened to our family. At that time, my grandfather was in the middle of fighting ALS. My parents got married a few years back, and this was supposed to be a happy time. ALS is a very terrible disease where everything in your body slowly stops working. He was in a wheelchair for most of his disease. What I've been told, that he was a happy and a very charming man. He had a great personality, and he had the need to keep whenever it was needed, and he had the need to help whenever it was needed. My mom said that he would have loved me. My Aunt Karen was going through intense chemotherapy that time during when our family got one of the worst phone calls of our lives. My grandfather had passed away. My mom told me that when she got that call, she cried. After she pulled herself together, she called my dad. My dad was driving in the car when he got the phone call, so he pulled over and bawled his eyes out for more than an hour. He cried more than my mom. At the funeral, my aunt made it. When she spoke, she was terribly ill, and she had no hair. That must have been a really hard time for her and us. After that, things started turning on the upside. My aunt was cancer-free, but I didn't find out she was sick until a couple years ago. 2 years ago, my aunt got diagnosed with the same kind of cancer. I think it was worse this time than when I was 2. My mom went back to college to get her degree in special ed. She was already really stressed from that, so when she heard that her sister and my aunt had cancer, her stress levels were building up. For one day, she just would explode. This time I remember so I can put it in my perspective. When I found out she had cancer, I didn't cry at that moment because I thought they were just joking, because our family has a cruel taste in humor. But once they didn't say or laugh at all, I realized it wasn't a joke. I didn't cry after that, but when my mom put me to bed, I started to realize that a lot of people die from cancer. And what if my aunt dies? That night I cried myself to sleep. Everyone in my family seems sad. A bad thing that you let your child see is if you cry and if you seem defeated. That makes them feel that something bad is happening that made you cry. So I walked in my mother crying, just thinking about my aunt, and I got really sad, and I joined her, and we cried for like half an hour. One time, our family and my other aunt and uncles came to the hospital where she stayed because we were celebrating the day my grandfather died. I don't know why we would celebrate, but we did. My Aunt Karen didn't look well. My grandma brought pies that tasted real good. They were sharing memories about my grandfather and how much they missed and loved him. One night, we got a phone call, and it was that my Aunt Karen was cured. She didn't have cancer anymore. I had a smile on my face that was bigger than the Grinch. It's not fair. You cannot cry because you're going to make me cry, and that is not fair. I wanted a She didn't have cancer anymore. I had a smile on my face that was bigger than the Grinch, but a happy smile, not an evil one. Thinking back about my grandfather dying is pretty sad. I wanted a grandfather to come to all my softball, soccer, swimming, and basketball games. I want my grandfather to go to my concerts. I want my grandfather to awkwardly ask me if I have any crushes. I want my grandfather to love, but I haven't have that, and it makes me really sad. And thinking that some kids have a wonderful chance of all that happening. Thankfully, I have my family that is really loving and caring. Writing this story has made me realize that I love my family, and I don't know what to do if I would lose them.